Senegal has long been an entry point into Africa. Situated at the far west end of the continent on the Atlantic coast, the country has drawn foreign powers, from Arab traders to European empires, to its shores for centuries. Senegal is a country on the coast of West Africa, bordering the North Atlantic Ocean in the west. It is bordered by Mauritania in the north, Mali to the east, Guinea to the southeast, and Guinea-Bissau to the southwest, and it shares maritime borders with Cape Verde. Senegal also borders the Gambia, a country occupying a narrow sliver of land along the banks of the Gambia River, which separates Senegal's southern region of Casamance from the rest of the country. With an area of 196,722 kilometers squared, Senegal has a population of about 15 million people. The country's spoken languages are French, Wolof, and other West African languages. The name Senegal comes from the Wolof Sunu Gaal, which means our boat. The country's climate is Sahelian. It is a tropical, hot and humid climate, but Senegal has a rainy season too, from May to November, with strong southeast winds. The dry season from December to April is dominated by the Harmattan, a hot, dry trade wind in West Africa. Senegal's terrain is generally low, with rolling plains rising to foothills in the southeast. Senegal's capital and largest city is Dakar. It is located on the Cape Verde Peninsula on the Atlantic coast. The territory of modern Senegal has been inhabited by various ethnic groups since prehistory. Organized kingdoms emerged around the 7th century, and parts of the country were ruled by prominent regional empires, such as the Jolof Empire. The present state of Senegal has its roots in European colonialism, which began during the mid-15th century when various European powers began competing for trade in the area. The establishment of coastal trading posts gradually led to control of the mainland, culminating in French rule of the area by the 19th century. Senegal is a predominantly Muslim country. More than 92% of Senegalese are adherents of the Islamic religion. For nearly a millennium, there has been an Islamic influence in Senegal. The history of Islam in Senegal is part of the history of the religion in the wider region of West Africa. Islam played a great role in the fight against colonization during the European scramble for Africa. In the 18th century, Senegalese Muslims took a variety of responses to French colonization. Islam became a rallying point for African resistance to the French. The French felt threatened and targeted the leaders of Islamic movements. The founder of the Morides, Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, was arrested twice by the colonial administration. The arrest only furthered Bamba's popularity and the Morides' extreme veneration of their leader. To this day, Sheikh Bamba is honored as an important leader of resistance in Senegal. Having broken the resistance, the French colonial powers enforced a secular state, limited the establishment of Quranic schools, created secular rather than Islamic curriculum in public schools, and restricted public access to books on Islamic topics. The colonists also did everything to eliminate Islamic global unity. They restricted Senegalese trips to other Muslim countries, restricted Hajj pilgrims to Mecca, arrested and killed Muslim scholars. The ugly face of the European powers in Africa can also be revealed in the history of the transatlantic slave trade. The geographical area where modern Senegal is situated is a center for the horrific transatlantic slave trade. It is here that the historical island of Gorée is located. Gorée is a small island just south of Cape Verde Peninsula. That was the site of one of the earliest European settlements in Western Africa, and long served as an outpost for slave and other trading. Gorée Island was settled in the 15th century by the Portuguese, who displaced the indigenous Lebu people and established a presence near Dakar on the island off the coast of Cape Verde, and used it as a base for the Atlantic slave trade.
Gorée Island is a symbol of the worldwide memory for all that concerns slavery. It is a striking island from this point of view because millions of blacks left here to America.
The quiet and picturesque Gorée Island lies a short ferry ride away from Dakar. 3 kilometers off the coast, the Senegalese island is tiny and easily accessible by foot. Gorée Island was the last place that more than 20 million Africans would see in their home continent before they were sold into slavery in the United States or Europe. African men, women, and children were held and traded here before being loaded onto ships to the Americas.
It's not easy to forget our grandparents, our great-grandparents were placed in these conditions.
Today, descendants of black Africans from around the world journey to the island in an attempt to come to terms with the sufferings of their forebears.
It's very important because this is where slavery was held. And slavery to me is very important. It was not during my time, but during my ancestors' time. So I actually want to see how they were treated, where they were, and everything that I can learn about them.
For many boarding the Chalope at Dakar, this is much more than a 20-minute ferry ride. It's the beginning of a painful voyage of self-discovery.
It's, your first feeling is I don't know, there's a lot of anger at first, and then you just, it's just, it's like, how do you say that your soul, you just kind of want to just stand here, and you just kind of want to just scream, you want to kind of say, why?
Following the abolition of the slave trade and French annexation of the mainland area in the 19th century, the modern city of Dakar grew into a major regional port and a major city of the French colonial empire. In 1902, Dakar replaced St. Louis as the capital of French West Africa. From 1959 to 1960, Dakar was the capital of the short-lived Mali Federation. In 1960, it became the capital of the independent Republic of Senegal. On the 4th of April 1959, Senegal and French Sudan, which is now called Mali, merged to form the Mali Federation, which became fully independent on the 20th of June 1960. Due to internal political difficulties, the federation broke up on the 20th of August, when Senegal and French Sudan proclaimed independence. Léopold Sédar Senghor was proclaimed Senegal's first president in September 1960. Senghor was a very well-read man, educated in France. He was a poet and philosopher who personally drafted the Senegalese national anthem. He advocated a brand of African socialism. With former French Sudan, Senghor was president of the Mali Federation Federal Assembly until its failure in 1960. After the establishment of the independent Republic of Senegal, the Prime Minister, Mamadou Dia, was in charge of executing Senegal's long-term development plan, while Senghor was in charge of foreign relations. The two men quickly disagreed. In December 1962, Mamadou Dia was arrested on suspicion of fomenting a coup d'etat. He was held in prison for 12 years. Following this, Senghor created a presidential regime. Although a socialist, Senghor avoided the Marxist and anti-Western ideology that had become popular in post-colonial Africa. Senegal remains one of the few African nations never to have had a coup and always to have had a peaceful transfer of power. Under his presidency, Senegal adopted a multi-party system. His multi-party democracy restricts the number of parties to 3 and delineates 3 political ideologies of socialist, communist, and liberal that must be espoused. On the 31st of December 1980, Senghor retired in favor of his Prime Minister Abdou Diop, his hand-picked successor. Former Prime Minister Mamadou Dia, who was Senghor's rival, ran for election in 1983 against Diop, but lost. Diop became president and Senghor moved to France, where he died at the age of 96. Senegal joined with Gambia to form the nominal Senegambia Confederation on the 1st of February 1982. However, the union was dissolved in 1989. Apart from its troubles in Casamance, Senegal has established a stable and democratic political system over the decades. Unlike its neighbors in West Africa, Senegal has been free of coups, military rule, and civil war since its independence. The country's elections, moreover, have been consistently credible. Senegal permitted the development of a multi-party democracy in the mid-1970s. Abdou Diop was president between 1981 and 2000. He encouraged broader political participation, reduced government involvement in the economy, and widened Senegal's diplomatic engagements, particularly with other developing nations. Senegal's commitment to democracy and human rights strengthened, Abdou Diouf served 4 terms as a president.
We want free and fair elections. We want peaceful elections. It depends on Mr. Diouf and not on me and on my brother who support me.
In the presidential election of 1999, opposition leader Abdoulaye Wade defeated Diouf in an election deemed free and fair by international observers. Senegal experienced its second peaceful transition of power and its first from one political party to another. During Wade's time, Senegal's political system underwent another test. Wade made the controversial decision to change the Senegalese constitution to enable him to seek a 3rd term in office in 2012. Although the amendment passed, it provoked such backlash around the country that Wade conceded defeat to his one-time ally, Macky Sall, in the first round of the presidential vote before heading into exile. This episode, however violent, only reaffirmed the robustness of Senegal's democracy. Once an ally of former President Abdoulaye Wade, Macky Sall created his own opposition party in 2008 and defeated Wade in the 2012 elections. During his time in office, the separatist conflict in the southern Casamance region had waned, and in 2014, rebel leader Salif Sadio declared a unilateral ceasefire. Mr. Sall proposed reducing the presidential term from 7 years to 5, saying he wanted to set an example within Africa.
I don't have existential worries, otherwise I wouldn't have reduced my mandate. Have you seen a president decrease their mandate? Me, I am going to do it. I was elected for 7 years in a free and fair election. No one can dispute that. It was a legitimate and legal election. But as I always say, people must see that in Africa. We are capable of setting an example, and that power is not an end in itself. That is how I understand things.
The proposal won approval in a March 2016 referendum. Senegal has a lively political scene with parties competing across ethnic, religious, and ideological lines. As one of Africa's model democracies, the Western African nation of Senegal has been a role for democratic governance and stability outside its borders. The country's stability has allowed it to send peacekeeping troops to the Democratic Republic of Congo, Liberia, and Kosovo. The most important Senegalese democratic impact on other nations could be the role Senegal played in order to restore democracy in its southern neighbor of Gambia. After first accepting defeat in the presidential election held on the 1st of December 2016, the former leader of Gambia, Yahya Jammeh, reversed his position and said he would not step down. He declared a 90-day state of emergency, blaming irregularities in the electoral process. More than anyone, it was Senegal that played a great role in reversing this dangerous situation. The winner of the presidential election, Adama Barrow, was forced to leave the country. It was to Senegal that Barrow went to stay until Jammeh left his post. Barrow took the oath of office at his country's embassy in Dakar on January 19, 2017. Then Jammeh was forced to step down and leave the country after Senegal and other West African countries mobilized their troops to restore democracy in Gambia. Gambia's new president, Adama Barrow, returned to his country on January 26, 2017, prompting a noisy and joyous wave of hope and excitement at the prospect of a brighter future for the small, poor West African state. Senegal also became the first African nation to bring a dictator from another country to justice. The successful resolution of the trial of the former dictator of Chad, Hissène Habré, marks a significant step forward in holding high-profile human rights abusers to account in Africa. Not only is the trial of Habré the first time a country has prosecuted a former leader of another nation for rights abuses, it is also an important model of how hybrid courts can reconcile the often conflicting demands of international law and local sovereignty.
I think it's an encouraging moment, and I think that this day wouldn't have been possible without the cooperation of Chad, of Senegal, which has hosted this. It's not an easy thing to do, and of the African Union, and that's an encouraging thing for sure.
More importantly, there is deep animosity among African leaders towards the ICC, which is seen as biased. Indictments of incumbent leaders of Sudan and Kenya have stirred particular resentment, so a powerful theme surrounding the trial was, therefore, African justice for an African criminal. and Senegal was successful in conducting a fair trial without political manipulation by Western powers. The prosecutors and investigative judges were nominated by Senegal's justice minister and appointed by the African Union. The president of the tribunal was a senior judge from Burkina Faso. Clement Abifuta, president of a Habre Survivors Association, said, quote, "Today Africa has won. We say thank you to Senegal and to Africa for judging Africa. We are proud that this trial took place on African soil." End quote. An appeals court has upheld the life sentence for Habre, convicted of war crimes and crimes against humanity, in the final decision of a landmark case, a judge presiding over the court in Senegal said on the 27th of April 2017. Turkey and Senegal have a long-held relationship with historical, cultural, and religious ties. The two countries play an active role in the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, or OIC. In recent years, relations between Senegal and Turkey have gained momentum. The two countries have declared their mutual willingness to further develop bilateral relations in all areas at every occasion.
Senegal bizim için değerli bir dost, bunun yanında stratejik bir ortaktır. Senegal de Türkiye'nin bir kara gün dostu olduğunu 15 Temmuz'da ispat etmiştir. Senegal hükümetinin 15 Temmuz darbe girişiminde ülkemize ve milletimize karşı sergilediği dayanışma için tekrar teşekkür ediyorum.
The Turkish Development and Cooperation Agency, TICA, which had already opened 2 offices in Sudan and Ethiopia, opened its first office in Western Africa in Dakar in April 2007. Since its foundation, the Office of the Turkish Development and Cooperation Agency in Dakar has disbursed approximately $2 million USD for maintenance and renewal activities and supplied material to an educational institution. In addition, the office has contributed to free health screening of 20,000 people and donated medicine. The ex-president of Senegal, Abdoulaye Wade, visited Turkey on the 18th through 20th of February 2008. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan arrived in Senegal on the 28th of February 2018 on the third stop of his 5-day, 4-country Africa trip. President Erdogan held talks with his counterpart Macky Sall and discussed bilateral ties and cooperation. Erdogan also announced his country will donate $5 million to a fledgling force of 5 African nations battling terrorism and trafficking in the Sahel, including Senegal, along with Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, Mauritania, and Niger. Erdogan also used his visit to Senegal to call for reform of the United Nations Security Council. Erdogan said, quote, 5 nations, permanent veto-wielding members Britain, China, France, Russia, and the U.S., can't be allowed to decide the destiny of the world. Turkey, Senegal, Mauritania should be members of the Council.